guys, my name is Julian and welcome to my channel. Alright, today I'm going to be doing a review on this Harley Benton TE-62. Alright, I did the unboxing video in case you want to see, and I show how the guitar came. You know, if it had any flaws, which it had, like, you know, 3 things. 2 of them minor, 1 of them maybe a little bit of a bigger thing, but I'll talk about it today, guys. Now, if you guys just want to see what it sounds like, you can just go to the timestamp and look where it says tones, and just see how it sounds, because I do like to make these things a little bit long, because I do like to talk about all of the things that I think, that I feel, that I saw, right, and that came with the guitar, guys. So I like to really get in depth into those kind of things, right? So let's kind of get, let's get to it, guys. So someone made a comment in one of my videos for the ST Modern Plus, which is an amazing guitar. For the price, it is sick how good that guitar is, except for the pickups, they could be better. But the guitar was sick. But someone said with Harley Benton, it's like a hit or miss kind of thing. You might get a good one, you might get a bad one. And there's some truth to that, guys. All right, we are paying a lot less money, so obviously that means that they're spending less, less time working on them. I'm still amazed that we still get such a good instrument for that price. And that is something that amazes me. And if it kind of helps, or maybe someone that might have doubts about maybe trying a guitar like this, guys, I have bought around 13 Harley Benton guitars over the years, and I would say out of those 13, 2 came with like some kind of problem, and it was fixable, by the way. It was not unfixable. It was fixable problems, but they did things, they came with things I had to fix. One of them is going to be this one, I will talk about it, and the other one is the normal Strat. I forgot what it is. I think it's just the ST62 normal, right? That one, it also came with some things and a really bad tremolo. I just blocked it because there's no way to use that tremolo, but the guitar sounds fine, and I'll do a review on that one later on. Okay, but besides that, guys, all of the other guitars came really well. Actually, the JA60 or 62 and the Custom 3, those guitars came so good, guys, that they came perfect in every single sense. And not only that, but the pickups are so good that those pickups I don't have to change. And that is amazing, because I do tend to change the pickups even on my expensive guitars. Anything like I had Strandbergs, I had Gibsons, Fenders, Music Mans. Pretty much I would say 90% of them I change the pickups. It's just something that I tend to do. All right, so what I'm trying to say, guys, is that for what we're paying for these guitars, guys, it's actually, we get a lot, guys. We get beautiful paint, which usually tends to be perfect. Right, we get like roasted necks, right? We get an instrument, that works well, that usually sounds good, right? Maybe not amazing, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but they sound good and they feel good. So for $140 or $45, which is what I pay for this one at the time, I think I got a lot. Okay, so that's just my overall thought on that, and everybody is to each their own, of course. All right, guys, so let's get to to our guitar. Let's kind of like start talking about things from top to bottom. I'll tell you, what we saw. So let's begin with the tuners, guys. So the tuners, guys, are not amazing. They're okay. They tune, right? They hold their tuning. If this wasn't a Tele and maybe it was like a guitar with tremolo, or maybe a Les Paul style guitar, I would change the the tuners. But for this type of guitar, a Telecaster, which is known for having really good tune, it's like I just put strings on, I stress them. All right, and in about a day, they're gonna be so stressed that even if I bend like crazy, they just won't get out of tune. So I don't have to worry about the tuners. So on this guitar, even though the tuners have like little jumps, sometimes when you turn them, they work and they stay in tune. So I think they work well. I do like the vintage look. All right, but I also do hate the little tuners like this one where you have to put a string inside. I just think it's like a pain in the butt. But I don't see a reason to change them if they work. I'm not like a super huge on breaking strings. It happens every once in a while, so that's fine. Okay, so tuners, okay, right? Let's say they're like fine. Now let's talk about the neck, because the neck, guys, for me, the neck and the pickups are for me what makes a guitar either good or bad. And the neck, based on how it feels, on on the fret job, stuff like that makes a huge difference. So this neck, guys. So first of all, I like that it's roasted. All right, it's not super dark, but I don't mind. I like dark necks, and I think they did a good job. It's a pretty neck to look at. All right, now the frets are fine. I didn't find any dead spots over the time that I play. I didn't find, any buzziness or anything like that. I did have to do a setup, which I think for these guitars, guys, if you're gonna buy one, you will have to do a setup, okay? Trust me. Very rare that they come perfectly set up. That and even more expensive guitars. So, either learn how to do one, which is always a good thing, or just take it to a tech, and they can do anything that might have to do to it. Sorry. Right, and now here on the neck, guys, there's one thing that you can do for so cheap, guys. It's pretty much free in reality. And it's gonna make the neck a lot better on this type of guitar. As I said before, we pay less because they work less on the guitar. So some things are not as polished as high-end guitars. What really makes a good guitar, or why some of the expensive guitars, not all, but why some of them are like so much better, is because someone spent a little bit more time just, you know, working on small details that when all come together make a huge difference. Okay, now with this guitar, guys, obviously for the price, they didn't roll. I mean, it's not the actual frets. So there's like no fret sprout, by the way. They feel fine. I didn't, you know, I don't feel anything when I play. But on the actual neck over here, right, on our on the edges, right, they're a little bit, you know, pointy. Now they do roll them a little bit, but not enough, at least for me or what I like. So what I do is that I get like a wrench socket, right? It's round and not pointy, and I just go fret by fret, and I just like, you know, what I do is that I create a little bit of a bigger you know, round edge, right? So what happens is that I did that for this guitar, and instantly the neck feels much better to play, especially for the bottom part, right, where the hand goes. Okay, so that's something that, you know, was not done on this guitar. I mean, it was done a little bit, but if you just do it a little bit more, spend like 15 minutes doing it, already makes a difference, a big difference. Now, what's the other thing, guys? And again, I would do it with most guitars too, but especially lower end. The frets, guys, is not polished. So for this guitar, when I started playing it, it's a little bit better now, because over the time when I bend, you still kind of like polish the string a little bit with the string. But what happens is that the frets are not polished. Right now, polishing a fret is something that you can just go on Amazon, get like this like $10 special thing, and then you can do that. You have like little buffers that you can use if you have one of those like round kind of like drill kind of things, but it's something easy to do, guys. So, you know, right now when I try to bend, it feels a little bit rough. It's a little bit hard to bend, doesn't feel smooth. Okay, and it's just that the frets are not polished. So go ahead and do that. I haven't done it on this guitar yet, but next time I do a string change, when I change the pickups, I'm gonna do it, and I know it's gonna feel much better. So that already, you know, doing like, you know, a little bit of, you know, a rounding, right, this neck edge, and polishing it, I know it's already gonna make a huge difference. And the neck, guys, I like the neck. Okay, it is like it's like a D neck, right? It's not thick at all, right? It's not super thin. It's more towards the thinner side, which I don't mind, but it's not thick at all, and it's actually very comfortable to play. The radius is a little bit flatter than your normal Tele. So I don't mind that. I actually like kind of flatter radiuses. Now again, is it like super mega, you know, shred, you know, flat? No, it's not. You know, it's nice. I like it. I think that most people will just, you know, say it's fine. I'm not super picky about that. Okay, now let's talk now about the body, right? The body, guys, really well constructed. Okay, I like that over here there's like no gap between the neck and the guitar. For me, that's just like an important thing. Maybe it doesn't make a difference, but I like it. It's well built, guys. The paint is beautiful. By the way, it might seem red to you, or maybe not. I don't know. I'll check on the video. But this guitar kind of changes a little bit. It can be a little bit pinkish. Let me see, maybe, guys, with the light, if you notice the difference. So it can be like a little bit pink at times, or a little bit, you know, darker red. It all depends on the light, and I actually don't mind. I actually think that's a pretty cool thing. Right now, when I see it, I see a little bit of pink here, and then I see red on the back. So the paint is cool. I like it. I wanted kind of like a red guitar for a while. I didn't have one, so that's fine. The binding, guys, is really well done, and I think it looks very classy. Really, really well done. All right, so you know the body is not heavy, by the way. I didn't weigh it, but it's gonna be your normal guitar weight. It's gonna be like somewhere under 7 pounds, not heavy. Some people I saw, you know, because I do, as everybody does, I go online and I look at forums, and you know, when I'm gonna buy something, see what people say, and you know, every once in a while, like someone will say, "Oh, that guitar is super heavy." In my case, not heavy, guys. Normal, you know, it's not light either or not heavy, so that's fine. And you know, the construction is well done, and again, for the money to have such a well constructed instrument, I think is pretty, you know, pretty amazing. All right, guys, now let's get to our electronics. So here was the other problem. By the way, if I didn't say, it has like a scratch over here and a ding over here, right? Nothing major. Now over here, the big thing and the big problem that came with this guitar is that this here came loose. So as you can see, check it out. So I thought like, oh, that must be broken. All the cables must be broken in there. So I took apart, this cover. And what happened is that even, it does work. If I twist it all the way, what it does is that it's going to twist, right? But it's still not working correctly. So, it works, but it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. When I open it up, what happened is that, you know, under our knob, right, you know, under the other side of this plate, you know, it's supposed to be attached to the plate body. For some reason, it came off. Now, I could use some paste to fix that. Just kind of like put it in there, probably hold it for 5 minutes, and that's it. It'll work just perfect because the connections are fine and everything. But I went ahead and bought like this whole assembly here on Amazon for $30. Why did I do that? Instead of returning it. I'm living abroad, guys. And if you're not in Europe, and that's something to take into consideration, if you're not in Europe, from what I heard, doing like any kind of like change or whatever, you know, something came wrong with something, so you just want to send it back and they'll send you another one. It's just like a pain in the ass, guys. It just takes forever. You might have to pay import or not, so you know, it's really not worth it. So what I did, because when I bought this guitar, by the way, my whole plan is I'm gonna upgrade the crap out of this guitar. Like, I'm gonna make this an amazing guitar because I think it's beautiful. I'm actually gonna put like a Bixby, you know, so I had all those plans already. So I'm like, okay, I don't mind, I'll spend $30 for that. So I got like a new assembly, which is probably gonna have better electronics, and I'm just gonna change that. By the way, if you're a guitar player, guys, or gals, you know, just learn how to solder, guys. Trust me, takes very little. I am not a tech in any way or form, and I learn how to solder just fine. Learn how to solder, and any of those things are gonna be such easy fixes, right? They're very easy to fix, you know, so that's just my recommendation if you're planning on buying guitars and making them better. Which is kind of what I tend to do with the Harley Benton. Some of my Harley Bentons, I got them to a point where they feel as good as, like, you know, let's say my high-end and Strammer, you know, guitars, which are amazingly well built in every single way. So I do think that they're great guitars that can, you know, they're good guitars that can turn into amazing guitars if you just kind of like, you know, work a little bit on them. All right, now the switch works fine. You know, the volume works perfect. The tone, as I say, I do have to turn it like a bunch until it finally like kind of like grabs, and then I turn it, so that I'm gonna change, but I can, you know, it works, so that's okay. But I'm gonna change that. So that is the one very negative thing about that guitar that came with it. Okay, now let's talk now then about the bridge. Bridge, I like the saddles, they're compensated. So, you know, I was able to intonate them well. And I did have to raise them a little bit. They were a bit low. But they sound good, and I like brass. And they actually look really nice too. So I like the bridge. And then the last thing, guys, for me, the other very important thing then are the pickups. Okay, so our pickups, again, the neck and the pickups. For me, that is what makes a guitar, for me, whether really good or not good or very bad. And the pickups, guys, are good, okay? They're not bad. They're not amazing and great either. All right, guys, they're good pickups. If I wanted to, I wouldn't need to change them, but I already have like some pickups, you know, some Zimmer Duncan pickups. Maybe I'm gonna change a Twanking over here. I'm thinking of getting one because I heard it's really good. And I do use a lot of, you know, all the combinations a lot. So let me tell you a little bit about what the difference is between, for me, a good pickup and an amazing pickup. Now this pickup, again, they sound good. By the way, this bridge is not very twangy. So if you want like a very, very like classic Telecaster, this one you might want to change it. It is a little bit more for like blues rock kind of theme. So, you know, when it's clean, it has a little bit of harshness to it. Obviously, being a Tele, it's going to be pretty high pitch. Right, but it actually takes distortion pretty well. I would say maybe more than like your normal Tele pickup, right? So I do think it's a great rock pickup, and you can see on the tones, right, that it takes distortion well. It actually sounds nice. It still has that bite, which is why I love Teles, and it takes distortion well. Now this one is a little bit woofy, right? It's a little bit kind of like, I feel like it needs a little bit of highs. I did lower it because by lowering, you know, you usually get more highs, but I feel that, you know, it sounds fat, which is nice. It has like a fat, nice sound, but it might be a little bit too dark, at least in comparison. But in the middle position, it sounds beautiful. All right, so these two pickups, middle position, sounds like nice and chimey. So somehow together, they actually form a great sound. So I was actually really pleased with that middle position. All right, now, again, sorry. So what I was saying about the pickups, what makes a good pickup is that, you know, with a good pickup, what happens is that there are certain frequencies that you can see that they like rolled off a little bit. They like make them a little bit softer, right? They're like, it's just like a more polished sound. It's a little bit more like a sound that you can say is just a little bit more, what's a good way to talk about it? Like defined. There we go. That's probably the word. So, you know, good pickups are like way more defined in certain frequencies. these pickups over here, what they have is that they have like a lot of everything. It's like, this one has a lot of sweet tones, but then it has like some little harshness. This one, for example, has like some harsh frequencies in there that, yeah, you could probably dial out, if you record it, or if you play live, with an EQ, you can work a little bit on them. But that's kind of the main theme, or the main difference between really great pickups and not good pickups, or maybe like, lower end pickups, that you can tell that there's a lot more work on the actual frequency spectrum, and they just have a way more defined sound. Usually they sound either sweeter, or if they're heavy, they're not like all over the place, boomy, heavy and stuff like that. So again, the pickups are good, and you guys can check them out on the tones, of course, that I'm gonna make. I made them with cleans, overdrive, kind of like crunchy, and then lead or high gain distortion, right? So you guys can get like an idea of what they sound like. But I definitely think by changing them, this guitar can be way better, okay? Way better, because I already know what the other pickups sound like. So I know they're gonna sound really good already, and with a good neck, a neck that I did a little bit of work on it, I do think this guitar is gonna be amazing. I think it's gonna be a great guitar. I'm probably gonna use it a lot. And again, Tele is holding tune so well. All right, so the plans are for that, guys. So I'm changing pickups, I'm adding a Bixby, changing this electronics. So a lot of work into it, but this guitar has what I will call the core of a guitar really good. So the core for me is the neck and the body, and the construction of those two together. If a guitar has that really well made, I think it can be a really good instrument. Now it's just a matter of polishing some of those things that could be better. Okay, so that's kind of my review on the guitar itself. The color, I like it, feels good to play, it's not heavy, it doesn't die. So it's a good guitar, guys. And again, I'll say it, $145, guys. I mean, you go out to eat 2 or 3 times and you spend that amount of money. Well, I guess not. I guess it depends on where you eat it, right? But it's not a lot of money, guys. It's not a lot of money. So what you're getting, well, I guess if you're paying tariffs and stuff like that, it might be a little bit different. But if you're just paying for the guitar and the shipping, you're getting really good stuff for very little money, guys. This could very well compete with like guitars that are like maybe in the $500, $600, maybe $700 range, somewhere around there. I think they compete with those. So I do still think that Harley Benton, maybe Jet guitars, I haven't tried them, but I heard that they're really good too. I think those are brands that, because they don't have the name, right? And a lot of people pay for the name more than for the actual guitar. But I think that they rival pretty good guitars, and they have, again, the potential to be amazing guitars. Okay, so that's my thought on this. All right, so now let's check out some tones. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, and let's just check it out. All right, guys, so we're gonna check our tones. We're gonna go from clean to higher gain stuff. All right, I am using my Orange Rocker 15 amp clean, and we're gonna be using a little bit of compression, some delay, and some reverb for most of the tones. All right, so check it out. Neck pickup. Here we go. All right, let's go to our middle position. All right, let's do our bridge. It's a lot brighter, by the way, guys. So here we go. Alright guys, let's use Tube Screamer. Tube Screamer Mini, Ibanez Tube Screamer, alright, with a little bit of overdrive on the neck. Alright, let's do our middle position. Let's do our bridge. Alright guys, now let's use the rat to get some kind of a crunchy tone. Alright, a little bit more than overdrive, but a little bit not so high distortion. So check it out on the neck. middle position. Okay guys, so here we're going to use the bridge. Now for these ones, I actually do like the tones that we get for the bridge. You know, I think it's a very nice rock pickup. Alright guys, and now let's do some hiking stuff, alright? I'm gonna use the JHS Angry Charlie for this one. Let's begin on the neck. Alright, let's do that middle pickup. Alright, and then let's do our bridge.